Ada and Emil in this game have a considerable fan base because not only do they have quite pretty designs, but their lore is also sweet and tragic in its own way. Being a confirmed couple in this game, Ada and Emil have become a symbol for many fans who adore lovers' mechanics in Identity V. In many game events, they also symbolize a mutual love for each other. And yet, somehow, there are assumptions that their love isn't sincere and is instead twisted in nature. This assumption stems from their lore as a whole. While some fans argue that way, there are also others who believe that their love is indeed sincere and that their feelings toward each other are real. This time, I kind of want to take you into this discussion from the perspective of one half of the couple, Ada Mesmer, since some fans believe that Ada doesn't genuinely love Emil and merely treats him as a precious experimental subject. But is that really the case? Well, disclaimer first, I'll be diving into this through several in-game sources, but the final take is ultimately my own perspective, so you're completely free to have a different opinion. Alright, let's dive in, guys. Born into a family of doctors, Ada's future was practically set in stone right after she was born. This can be seen in her first and second deduction quests, which reveal that her parents aspired for her to become a doctor. Ada's first deduction quest mentions that she did not have the power to choose what she wanted to become, as it seemed her life would be dedicated to becoming a doctor. Even at the age of 13, Ada had to observe how her father performed medical practices on others, as seen in another deduction quest. This seemingly shaped the way she viewed her parents, especially her father, which she viewed as strict. Still, while it sounds rough for her, she actually accepted it as it was, as shown in the second deduction quest. Sometime during her adolescent years, she met a young boy on the street, starving, dirty, and miserable looking. Out of kindness, she gave the young boy a loaf of bread, which he accepted gratefully. That young boy was someone named Emil, someone who would eventually play an important role in her life later on. After meeting Emil on the street, Ada asked her father to help him, but her father refused. This seems to have solidified the image of her father in her mind, making her think that he may not really have been a good man. Ada then resolved to grow up, mature, and show the world what kind of person she truly wanted to be. Years later, she grew up to become a medical prodigy. By the age of 25, she had already become an assistant professor of psychology, something which would only be achievable for a very small number of people. Ada was particularly interested in something called hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy itself, in short, is a method of treating patients through hypnosis. In Ada's case, she wished to treat mental patients without causing them pain. This method was considered quite revolutionary at the time because, back in the Victorian era, treatments for patients with mental health problems were often extremely harsh. Some methods included electroshock therapy, sedatives, and more. Ada wanted something different, which led her to experiment with hypnotherapy. However, she had to conduct these experiments in secret since no one believed in her research. Time passed, and so far her experiments seemed fruitless. Patients without sedatives could not endure the pain, and no patient had ever been successfully hypnotized while suffering. This was documented in the 10 Days Memories event that was released alongside her. And the misfortune did not stop there. Ada's colleagues eventually found out about her research, and she was forced to stop it. This led Ada to leave the academy, where she had conducted her experiments, and begin traveling from place to conduct her research. Eventually, on September 29th, she arrived at a place called White Sand Street Asylum. The year was most likely 1893, if we take Emma's letter into consideration. She underwent an 11-day medical training program at the asylum, and during her stay, she took notice of a certain patient deemed dangerous, someone who was placed in a special ward called the cage. That patient was none other than Emil. Somehow, Emil had ended up in the asylum, suffering from a high fever as well as memory loss. He could not remember who he was or what had happened before he arrived there. Even the name Emil was taken from a torn piece of fabric attached to his collar, with the faintly sewn words Emil and dogfighting pit written on it. Emil was considered dangerous, violent, and aggressive by the asylum. He would occasionally enter manic stages caused by his recurring nightmares. To deal with this, the doctors at the asylum relied on traditional methods such as sedatives and electroshock therapy. One day, it was Ada's turn to monitor Emil, and he once again entered one of his manic episodes. Since there were no other doctors on duty, Ada had to handle the situation by herself. In the end, all she could really do was try to console him. Eventually, she blew a whistle, and surprisingly, Emil became calm upon hearing it. This phenomenon reminded Ada of the hypnotherapy she had been experimenting with, which immediately made her more curious about Emil. Remember that Ada's previous patients could not tolerate pain, let alone respond to hypnotherapy during it. Well, Emil was the first patient able to endure intense pain while simultaneously responding to Ada's hypnotherapy. And thus, Ada began secretly experimenting on Emil. She would secretly reduce his medication or increase the intensity of his electroshock therapy, which naturally caused his pain to worsen. During those moments of pain, whenever Ada blew the whistle, Emil would gradually calm down. Ada was overjoyed. Emil was the perfect experimental subject she had been searching for. But despite secretly experimenting on him, she still felt guilty for tormenting her patient for the sake of her own research. Eventually, she indirectly asked Emil whether he wanted to continue the asylum's traditional treatments or choose Ada's experimental method instead. Emil chose the latter. This once again filled Ada with joy. She then began to think that only she could treat Emil, and only Emil could become the subject of her experiment. Now let's pause here for a second, because if we look into his design notes, this is the very core of their relationship altogether. According to the design notes, the developers wanted Emil and Ada to have an it must be him or her kind of relationship. Because of that, I personally think the core bond between them lies in the idea that Emil was the perfect person for Ada, regardless of the reason behind it, whether as an experimental subject or something much deeper. However, I personally think that this does not necessarily mean Ada only loved Emil as an experimental subject, which is something I'll talk about later. Eventually, Ada's term at the asylum was about to expire, and once again, she found herself conflicted about what to do with her experiment. She felt saddened knowing that her time with Emil would soon come to an end, as Emil was not only the perfect test subject for her, but had also become something much more than that. By this point, Ada had already developed feelings for him, even wishing for a relationship beyond that of doctor and patient. And thus, for Ada, what initially began as mere interest gradually turned into genuine attachment. This whole scene can clearly be seen in the 10 Days Memories event. Still conflicted, one day Ada went to the asylum garden, picked 2 flowers, and gave one of them to Emil. The next day, Emil gave her a ring made out of wire as a way of thanking her. However, for Ada, this gesture meant far more than a simple thank you. Ada grew up without receiving much compassion from a man, especially since her father himself was strict and pushy, and based on Ada's letter and deduction quest, never truly cared about Ada's feelings. Ada even mentioned that this was the first time a man had genuinely understood her. Because of that, I would say it's only natural that Ada would eventually fall for Emil by this point. And so, Ada did not want to leave the asylum without Emil. 3 days before her term ended, she told Emil that the 2 of them would leave the asylum together and start a new life, one where she would continue treating him herself. Emil, who had already grown deeply attached to Ada because her treatment reduced the nightmares that tormented him, agreed to leave with her. And on October 10th, just one day after Lisa Beck made her grand escape from the asylum, the couple left the asylum together. Ada took Emil far away from the public eye. She settled in a house seemingly located deep within a forest, with a river flowing behind it. To support their lives, Ada worked both as a teacher and a doctor, all while continuing to treat and experiment on Emil. In the meantime, she also tried to gradually reintroduce Emil to society, taking him outside to interact with children, go shopping, and experience ordinary life once more, all in the hope that he could eventually fit back into society again. This continued for quite some time, until Ada's treatment gradually began losing its effectiveness. Emil's condition slowly worsened. About 3 years later, Emil's manic episodes had returned already. In a desperate attempt to save him, Ada went to the manor, trading a patient list from White Sand Street Asylum in exchange for a medication said to be capable of curing Emil entirely. Whatever happened to both Ada and Emil in the manor can be seen in their second, third, and fourth letters. However, we won't really talk about that for now, and instead, we'll return to the question from the beginning of the video. Does Ada genuinely love Emil, or is Emil merely an experimental subject to her? Well, seeing how their story unfolds, it's understandable why some people would say that Ada doesn't truly love Emil and merely treats him as a test subject. After all, Ada's interest in Emil initially began because he was the perfect candidate for her experiment. Because of that, the idea that Ada's love was manipulative is a sentiment that appears quite often within the fandom. Adding to this are several skins that depict Emil as blindly obedient to Ada, while Ada's counterpart skins often portray her as possessive or restraining toward Emil. This further suggests that the love between the two is somewhat twisted and perhaps not entirely sincere. While this might be true to some extent, I low-key think that, from all the hints we've been given, their relationship can actually be interpreted from multiple angles. And it's precisely through these different perspectives that we can get a clearer picture of what their love truly is, how Ada genuinely felt toward Emil, and vice versa. So, to really understand their relationship, we also have to dive into each perspective carefully. To me, describing Ada and Emil's relationship is by no means an easy thing to do. Even the 10 Days Memories event, which explains their past in great detail, offers multiple endings, each giving a different nuance to what their relationship truly is. One ending portrays Ada as controlling toward Emil, another presents their relationship as genuinely sweet, while the remaining endings add even more layers and interpretations to their dynamic. If someone only takes one ending while disregarding the others, then only a fragment of their lore is being considered, and that alone can heavily shape someone's perspective about the nature of their relationship. That's why, again, when analyzing the love story between Ada and Emil, we have to look at it from different perspectives in order to get a clearer picture. After doing so, and after checking the in-game files as well as reading other perspectives from Reddit and Discord, I personally came to the conclusion that their relationship is, in many ways, complicated. Do they love each other? Yes. Is their relationship healthy? No. Both of them are deeply dependent on one another. Ada believes that only she can cure Emil, which suggests that she has a savior complex to some extent. Emil, on the other hand, becomes emotionally dependent on Ada. It was Ada who brought him back to his senses, the one person capable of calming his nightmares and manic episodes. This alone makes their relationship unhealthy, as both become actively, perhaps even excessively, protective of each other. If I may add, Ada's understanding of love itself is probably distorted. From her backstory, we knew that she grew up under pressure, lacked emotional warmth from her father, and spent most of her life seeing people through the lens of medicine and treatment. That's why, when she finally encountered someone who both needed her and emotionally understood her, she had a mixed feeling of love and obsession. Things are equally tragic in Emil's side. Having grown up in a miserable condition, Emil treats tenderness as something that he holds very dearly because he barely receives any in his life. Receiving tenderness from Ada makes him fall in love with her, but on the other hand, this also creates dependency very quickly. In many ways, it seems that Emil emotionally anchors himself entirely to Ada, voluntarily. Moving on, I like to think that every ending in the 10 Days Memories event, as well as every angle of their relationship, exists to show different sides of what their bond truly represents. At times, it feels one-sided, manipulative, or even sincere. And maybe all of those interpretations are valid because all of those elements exist within their relationship. Perhaps that is exactly why the design notes describe their love as both twisted and sincere at the same time. On this point, I also agree with one of the lore enthusiasts on Discord who mentioned that their relationship is definitely unhealthy and that their story heavily leans into the romanticization of forbidden, transactional, and unhealthy love, something that is also a major staple of Gothic literature. I also want to give credit to a source I found on Reddit that explained their relationship in great detail, portraying it as complicated, unhealthy, yet still rooted in genuine love. To those people, I sincerely give my regards. One more thing I want to highlight comes from their design notes. In them, the developers clearly stated that they wanted Emil and Ada to have an it must be him or her kind of relationship. Emil is described as an aggressive fighting dog, yet also a loyal lover who falls in love with tenderness. Ada, meanwhile, is portrayed as a mad researcher, but also as someone who gradually develops a desire for love and healing after her research begins turning into something far more personal. Judging from this perspective, I would personally say that their feelings toward each other really are sincere, no matter how disturbing it may appear on the surface. Emil longs for tenderness, especially after living such a brutal life since childhood. Meanwhile, Ada gradually develops both a desire for love and a genuine wish to heal others through her research, even after the research itself is no longer her sole motivation. After all, later on, we know that Ada herself brought Emil to the manor in a desperate attempt to save him. Furthermore, I also want to emphasize that Ada and Emil eventually went on to live like a regular couple after escaping the asylum together. Ada brought Emil into town, letting him interact with children and slowly reconnect with society, while Emil trusted Ada as the only person capable of easing his nightmares. Both regarded each other as partners, as soulmates, as equally adults, as people whose happiness rested on each other's shoulders, and as individuals who believed they would be all right as long as they stayed together. Perhaps, in that sense, their love for each other truly was genuine after all. All in all, if we return to the original question that inspired this essay, then I would say that yes, Ada initially viewed Emil as an experimental subject, but her feelings did not stop there. To Ada, Emil became her experimental subject, her lover, her hope for the future, and her happiness. Before I close this essay once again, this is simply the conclusion I personally reached after going through Ada and Emil's story, and it is without doubt that my own interpretations play a role in it. That's why, if you have a different perspective or would like to add more context, feel free to share your thoughts as well. Thank you for staying with me, and have a good day.